Hello, friends, and welcome to the Friday conversation. I'm very excited to be here this week with some very special guests. And our friend, Mr. Tim Hardy, is here, and I will hand the reins over to him because I am losing my voice. And Tim, will you kick us off, please, sir?
Cheers, Steve. That was a heroic effort. Well done. I'm Tim Hardy, and I'm basically the self-appointed guest host of this week's episode. I'm a regular book reviewer for the Page Chewing blog, and I'm a self-confessed Dex Legacy fan, and very pleased that off the back of that, I was able to invite both of the show's co-creators on to join us today. So I've got Emily Inkpen and Chris Gregory in the studio with us. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi. So I'm Emily Inkpen, and I'm a novelist and audio dramatist. I'm basically a word nerd. I work in all sort of wordy directions. And yes, author of the Dex Legacy audio drama, which is based on my trilogy of novels, which is repped and in publisher submission. And yeah, that's me, I think.
Sounds like it. Yeah, Chris?
Emily, you forgot actor and director as well.
Yes. Yes, also.
I'll do those for you. My name is Chris Gregory. I'm a podcast and radio producer, and I'm the founder of the production company Alternative Stories, which is the company that makes the Dex Legacy. I do a bit of acting on the side, but only villains.
Mm.
Oh.
So yeah, that's a conversation bomb drop straight away. So.
Yeah, it's not just only villains. I mean, it's you just end up playing villains. You've got that voice, and you're just very, very villain. The thing is that you're the least villainy person in real life.
Thank you.
That's the joke. You're like the nicest person in the world, but then when someone has someone to play Satan or something, it's you're always the
Chris
one who plays the part.
Yeah. Or the even worse character, Nathaniel Dex.
Yeah, these are the ones you've got to watch, isn't it? Basically, it's the quiet ones, the nice ones.
I think so.
So yeah, as I say, I'm the self-confessed Dex Legacy nerd, so I'm fan. So I'm really quite excited to kind of get into this and just have a proper sort of discussion about the show. Emily, probably the best thing to do is just for people listening, just give them a quick intro as to what is the Dex Legacy and what can people expect when they listen to that show.
Sure. So the Dex Legacy is a dark political science fiction audio drama. It is full cast, which means that you've got a lot of actors involved. All of the voices are, playing different parts, and it's fully scripted, which means, it's just fully dialogue scripted. So there's not really a narrator. It's definitely not an audiobook. It's like a movie in your ears. So that's the format. The story is about weapons manufacturer who moves his company to an island, declares it a independent state and himself president, and then proceeds to influence world politics while carrying out various experimentations, making lots of weapons that people all over the world want, because the world is a terrible place and people are people, and they want to blow each other up. And he's got 3 adopted children who he has given to his scientists to make into the first super soldier prototypes, basically. And the story is kind of hinges on their development and their journey. And it's really kind of answering back to sort of Avengers style super soldiers, where you see somebody take a serum and 5 minutes later they're chasing Nazis, and there are no side effects, there are no ongoing issues with them having that treatment. There's no they just take it once and they're good to go. And I worked in pharma, I worked in medical communications, I know about long-term trials and horrible side effects and the sort of stuff that you need to go through in order to make treatments work. And also historically the kind of people who have been around trying to develop really sort of morally grey treatments, and the kind of people behind those and the lengths those people are willing to go to make these treatments work, all for the in inverted commas greater good. And so it's not a polished superhero series. These kids have been through hell and they are put through horrible things to further the development of this program. And at the end of it, obviously, they're not particularly nice people. They are in survival mode most of the time and they make dubious decisions and they're just doing their best trying to survive this and potentially doing some damage in other directions on the way, with the fact that they're, obviously stronger and faster and more capable in unpleasant ways than other people, and obviously they use it, and they're teenagers, and of course they will. They're a collection of different levels of mess, and so that's sort of what the story is.
So yeah, obviously quite a dark themes, dark tones.
Oh
in
yeah.
That respect. This is not a fluffy, shiny sci-fi series from that point of view, is it?
No emphasis on glitter and rainbows. Absolutely nil.
No.
Hardly any unicorns or little friendly robots.
No, none of those.
No,
No, there is an AI, but she is dubious.
Yeah.
She's friendly. Yeah, she means well. I think that's
So there's, there's nothing wrong with dark, dark fiction, dark sci-fi, is there? I think in some ways it gives you that chance to explore, those sort of areas and those sort of questions really effectively, doesn't it? In a way that a shiny robot wouldn't let you do.
Oh, absolutely not. No. And I think that a lot of people really like the dark sci-fi. And I think that a lot of people like interrogating ideas properly and delving into the fact that people aren't perfect and people can be villainous. And even if you've got good intentions, you can go about sort of executing them in a horrendous way that hurts people. And I think the audience these days, people are cynical enough to take that. I think. And also it kind of aligns more with what's going on in the world. There is nothing really fluffy or warm going on at the moment. Those kind of stories are escapism stories, but they're not necessarily something that you can identify with. And I think that the Dex Legacy at the moment is really kind of, people are identifying with it as a sort of, this is a future that I can imagine happening, or these are people that I know are the kind of people that are in charge of things now, and these are decisions that I know are being made now, and I can see in the future that we would be going round in circles and getting to the same place, and all of those. So it's I think that people can embrace the darkness in the Dex Legacy, but a lot of audio is really, it's always very comic. There's a lot of comedy and light-hearted stuff in audio. So actually the Dex Legacy is kind of a bit there, it fits into a serious niche in the audio side. Yeah. So there's that too. Yeah.
So I suppose, Chrissy, I was going to ask you what sort of drew you into wanting to produce this in audio drama format. I think Emily's kind of maybe giving you some of the answers to that, but I suppose why this show and not others, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, well, I hadn't really done very much sci-fi, and I am a bit of a sci-fi nerd, and I wanted to do some sci-fi. Like Emily, we kind of met and almost immediately bonded over Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and so I grew up listening to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, recording it on those little cassette players that you got for Christmas, listening back over and over till the cassettes were all stretched and playing at the wrong speed, and learning every line off by heart, really. As it turned out, did Emily as well. So I'd made lots of audio drama on subjects like folklore, mythology, fantasy, and I just wanted to make some sci-fi. We were in lockdown, and I think all of us were probably spending a bit more time on social media. We perhaps had a little bit more time on our hands to do some projects that we wanted to work on. I connected with Emily on Twitter, and immediately I think we decided we were going to do this. We made one episode. It was going to be a standalone. After a couple of months, when it had done really well on my podcast, Alternative Stories and Fake Realities, we said, you know what, we should probably do another of these. So we did. and then the conversations came round to, wouldn't it be interesting if we did a series? And so we did, and it's not really stopped escalating since then, actually.
I was going to say, it's not a small commitment,
No.
that is it? When you sort of go from, making a standalone is probably quite challenging, but stretching that into a
Yeah,
full series production is another level, isn't it? Really.
I think the thing is, Tim, when you make a drama, you feel like there's a one-off drama. You feel there's a bit of pressure on it, but you haven't got a community of people who are downloading it the moment it comes out. And we're getting close to 200,000 downloads now. When an episode comes out, it will have 2,000 downloads in the first week or so. There's an expectation.
Over 1,000 in the first day, and
yeah.
later in
So
that's exciting.
Yes, it's incredible.
There builds with all the loveliness of that, and knowing that you're being heard all around the world, comes a degree of pressure. So it's got to get better. The stories have got to not repeat themselves. The characters have got to get more nastier in my case, and actually nastier in most of the cases.
Can it be possible? I'm not sure.
Oh, it does. Yeah, no. By the time the books happen, Chris has read the books, and the books are set 11 years after the first season, and
I tried to resign my role when I read the books.
Did a little bit, yeah.
Yes.
Nathaniel Dex does actually get worse in the books. He's an awful, awful person, but it's actually fun. Like, writing the audio drama as a prequel, I know where everyone's got to get, and so it's a case of getting them there. And I know that there are certain events that happen in their past, key events, because those are ones that are referred back to in the series, in the trilogy. And so it's really fun doing the audio drama, because you can sort of walk that tightrope of, this is a fun series in its own right, but it is also getting everyone to this point, and you're weaving in the foreshadowing and everything. And, one of the most important episodes so far, I think, it was an interlude in season 1, and it is the first step in a key series of events that build and build and build until the first novel begins. And that's just an interlude in season 1. So I guess what I'm doing is inadvertently what I'm doing is I'm sort of building this pathway to it, and then people will read book 1 and be like, oh my goodness, okay, yes, and it will all start to fall into place.
It's like backstory to the next level squared, or times 9 or whatever. It's incredible. And I think just people that haven't perhaps heard the show before, you have like core episodes, don't you? So so 1, 2, 3, but then you have the interludes, which are shorter sort of snippets that kind of drop in between, sometimes sequentially, but usually between the main episodes, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. So basically the interludes are, Chris, you explain the interlude, because the interlude was your idea.
Should I tell people about interludes? Yeah.
Yes.
So they're just, I don't know any other podcasts that really do this, any dramas that do this, but it allows us to just sort of step out of the main sequence of events and drill down on a particular character, or a particular relationship between characters, or an event, or something that's just, we think, of interest, that will enhance the main experience for our listeners, but if you missed it, you wouldn't lose your track in the main story. And I initially, it was a very functional thing. We were literally making episodes week by week as they were due to go out, and there came a point where we said, I'm not sure we can hit the deadline for this next episode. Could we do something a bit smaller? And we came up with this idea of an interlude where Nathaniel was chatting to Otto. Now, Otto is Emily's character. And so, you could see immediately that's in our gift, that to do. We don't need to rely on other actors to do that. So Emily put a script together, and we kind of performed it and put it out, and people seem to like that that idea, so we did a few more of them through the series. So what started as a stopgap has become a kind of characteristic of the Dex Legacy that other series don't really have. So we'll definitely be doing more of them, and we're thinking of doing them in other series, other non-Dex Legacy dramas that we're working on as well. So yeah, it's a concept we like.
Yeah, I hadn't realised it was an emergency measure to begin with, but like you say, I think it makes the series very distinctive, doesn't it?
Let's pretend we went to do it all along, Tim.
Yeah, sorry, we can edit this
Of course, yeah.
That dance is deconstructed.
I mean, I think it's one of those situations they say like necessity is the mother of invention or something,
Yes.
and actually weirdly the need to do that sort of gave birth to my character Otto having more of a voice in the show, because Chris and I being in this situation, we work with a lot of actors and everything. As soon as we went to the actors, we had to be thinking, okay, we got to brief them, we got to give them enough time to do the audio, we got to turn this around. I think it came down to the point where Chris was like, what can you and I do by tomorrow that we can put out? So then obviously Otto had to be in it in a more active role, and then Otto developed from there. But at the beginning of making the show, I had no idea. She was just going to be saying, door opening, door closing, incoming call, really functional stuff. And, doing the intros and outros and stuff. But she was never meant to be a character. And it was that sort of need in that moment that pushed her to become a character. So there we go. Yeah.
Really interesting. When you've touched on it already in terms of you both play parts in the show, but you've also mentioned there's quite a large cast of characters, isn't there? So, I mean, how did you actually go about selecting the actors to sort of play those different roles?
Oof.
I'll start on this one because
you go. Yeah,
because I've been making drama for a while. I knew quite a few actors. In the pandemic, all the theatres were closed, all the TV and film studios and all the radio studios were closed. So suddenly we had access to these actors that you'd seen on telly or had been on the stage and on the National Theatre, all wanting work. We also work with quite a few of those poor young actors who just come out of drama school and would normally graduate with a show where they get to pitch to all the agencies and get represented, and they couldn't do that. And so it was very easy on social media to see young actors who were promoting themselves. And I tried to give a few of them breaks in other dramas during the pandemic. And we used some of them to fantastic effect in the Dex Legacy. So there was a lovely period where we were sending little microphones off in the post all round the UK. One of our actors is up in Inverness, up in the Highlands. We got quite a few in London. But so we auditioned actors. We've still got, actually, we do a bit of teaching, and in one of our workshops we talk about casting and auditioning, and we often listen back to 4 or 5 of the actors that auditioned for the role of Isra in the Dex Legacy,
and there were a lot.
And there were a lot.
I think we had like 12 or something, 12 to 15.
So I think we did well. I mean, it's a tough thing to do to say you did well out of a pandemic, but and I don't mean that in a sort of callous way. Yeah, people are dying. Well, at least we got some good actors out of it. But we did. We had opportunities to cast people that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to, and I think we're very grateful that all the people that we cast during season 1 wanted to stay with us for season 2. And I think it's fair to say that we're really, really good friends with quite a few of the people in the cast, aren't we, Emily? Christmas dues and things like that.
I wouldn't want to, it gives me palpitations almost as a writer, the idea of one of them saying, oh no, I can't be in it anymore. And then you've got to go through that sort of oh my goodness, okay, how are we going to find a voice that is as good as them and as the character as them? Because as a writer, I think you do sort of the casting and you start working with them as that voice, and then you start writing for that voice for them. And then, you know, if they said, oh no, you know, like, you know, I'm not going to be in it anymore, it's like, well, whose voice am I writing for? I don't know anymore. And it would just be, it, like, probably the listeners would adapt very, very quickly. One episode in, it would be fine. Whereas I would have gone through like a probably writerly meltdown in between seasons. At that point, it probably wouldn't have been pretty. But
we are somewhat painted into a corner, because in a drama where an established actor in a role dropped out, you have one of the options a writer has is to kill that character off. Now, Emily doesn't have that option, because this is equal to a set of novels where that character is alive and well and doing adventurous things. So we can't kill any of them off. So it is.
I can send them away.
Around the note saying,
all these dramatic things are happening off screen, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll say, oh no, they had to go and do work overseas for some time.
I'm not sure your audience is going to be applauding that one, but I guess I suppose, is that such a risk? I suppose I don't know how big a commitment it is for the actors in terms of the time they'd have to commit to, because I suppose for TV or film, clearly there's a big time commitment, isn't there? But I'm guessing for audio drama, it might be easier for them to fit that in around other commitments anyway.
Yeah,
I'm just speculating.
I think that's right. Yeah.
When we were in the studio, we went in for 2 days with Barry and Isra and Ren, and 2 days it was. We didn't do it all at the same time. So basically we had certain sets of people coming in at different points.
Yeah.
I think we had 2 days with Varian, Isra and Ren, and we had another 2 days where we did like 2 different sets. So really for them, it was just 2 days as the main characters. And then the others, it was like 1 day. And we were able to get it all done in that time. It was, you know, very efficient. But yeah, it's weird when we got out of the studio then, it was like, this is over for you guys now. Until the next time. It's like, for us, we're going to be listening to all this. We're going to be editing it. We're doing this. This is the beginning for us of like months and months of work and then a full release schedule. But yeah, so it's a completely different ball game. I think they don't understand. Like, it's weird when you're a writer or a producer or something, and you know the actors so well because you have spent so much time with them. They've spent 2 days with you. It's not the same for them as it is for you. You know, like you go and say hi to them and you're like, oh my God, how are you doing? And they're like, I barely know you.
Stop being so enthusiastic, please. Yeah.
Very professional, very like
we did buy them all beer.
Sorry, Chris, I was going to say that highlights kind of both the difference between being an actor and being the creator. You know, you are the creator of the show, and that's a very different commitment for you compared to what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, this is our baby, you know. Yes. Yeah.
With the time invested in, it must be a ton of editing for each episode. How much time goes into each episode? And I'm sure you've streamlined your process by now, but what has that been like to go through and edit all the different audio for everyone and remove background noise and remove all the weird things that happen during recordings? There must be a lot, a lot that we don't hear when we listen, but you guys, you all take care of during editing.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth tracking back to how we did it during the pandemic, where everyone was recording separately, sending their lines in, and we had a process where we would select literally every line individually. I would then try and put it together like some mad jigsaw where there's 8 different versions of every part. And my estimate was it took probably an hour for every elapsed minute of audio that you would hear produced.
Wow.
So, it was a big job. I mean, it's the only way of working. So if we wanted to do it, that was the way of doing it. So that was a big job. In the studio, where you are recording live, you've got 2, 3, 4 actors performing their scene live. If they absolutely nail that, you can just take that audio and go, right, that's that's it then. We're done.
That's a
Generally, we
scene.
didn't. Yeah. There was a few where we did that, but generally, we would be saying, right, first page of scene 2, pages 3 and 4 of choosing our takes and sometimes combining them. We'd get actors to do drop-ins, which is, can you just do that one line again, so that we can drop that in. But so lots and lots of work just to get to the point where we have what we call a vocal assembly edit. So that's all our favorite lines, our favorite takes in the right order. And we play around with the gaps, so characters talk over each other, or they'll leave a slightly longer pause. A pause in audio is, seems twice as long as a pause in a visual medium, because silence
it's
is
the only
awkward.
thing you've got,
and it can really have impact. But so we have this vocal assembly edit. We both listen through to it and say, are we happy? And then the fun begins for me, where I get to then add in all the sound effects. So I liken that process to, if you imagine the vocal mix is like a line drawing, adding the sound effects and the music is like colouring it in for me. And that's my happy place. Emily doesn't see or hear from me for a few days while I'm off doing that, and then she will listen.
Well, I do. It depends on the sound effect, because sometimes there's a very important conversation about what vegetables to snap that happens via WhatsApp. How are we going to make this sound effect? Because funnily enough, our free sound libraries do not have different recordings of necks being snapped. Thankfully.
No.
I mean, I was surprised for about 0.2 seconds, and then I was like, oh no, actually that's a good thing.
No, they wouldn't.
Now I am relieved. All right.
So we had a very the role of bones and necks and other hideous things that go on in the show, basically.
Indeed, yes. So we do often lean onto the vegetable drawer to do those bespoke sound effects that are such a part of the show.
Yeah, there was actually this amazing.
No, first, go
on. Okay. I was going to say there was an amazing WhatsApp conversation we had. It was a Sunday morning, and I woke up to a message from Chris saying, I'm sitting here with a basket of vegetables and I've got to make this sound effect, for this breaking neck scene. This is a cucumber. What do you think? Right. So I'm sort of like pre-first cup of tea, and I'm like, okay, hold on. I got my headphones in and I listened to it, and I was just like, too wet. Okay, what's the next one? And we had this back and forth with every vegetables. How many vegetables died in the making of that sound effect? I don't know. But we ended up, it was just one of those comments, and I was listening to it, and Danny was just like, my partner, it's like, what are you doing? And I'm going, it's a bit too juicy. Yeah, no,
too
it wouldn't sound like
too
that.
stringy.
We need more of a creak before the snap. Yeah, no.
It did get really sick. So we were playing them at different speeds and playing them backwards, combining vegetables, which is what we got to in the end. But I mean, you probably don't get any of this when you just listen to it. You just hear that sound that's on in your ears for a fraction of a second. You just won't realise that there was a conversation going on.
Hopefully makes you go like,
had the conversation been intercepted, it would have sounded like we were some sort of terrorist cell.
Is it? Is that like is that like a a trade secret then? The optimum combination of vegetables for different sound effects. Would you ever share that on a show like this, or actually would you rather die than reveal your secret?
It's like the ingredients of Coca-Cola. I think it's a secret that isn't going to be shared.
That's fair enough.
There was a pepper in there.
I've spoken to people. They say, what is it they say? Like the traditional one for broken bones, is it a carrot or is it something else? They say celery or something like that to get the like crunch if the bone's sort of shattering or something. But then, when I say, well, it depends, because I said it was a broken neck, so they just always assume that it's one thing. And I'm like, yeah, but it depends how the neck is broken, because this was like a pull and a twist, as opposed to just a a chop and a snap, and that's a completely different sound effect. So it really depends, and everyone has to get inventive and find their own way, and that's the glory of kitchen sound effects, I think.
It's quite dark behind the scenes as well, Tim.
Yeah, the conversation goes on. I'm sort of increasingly worried, but I think we'll just pretend the last minute didn't happen. That's probably the best for everybody.
Edit all of that out.
It's a dark show, okay, but we had a very, very healthy curry at the end of it. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Can we just do a summary? We could just summarise it for the edit. Sometimes we use vegetables to make sound effects, don't we, Emily?
Yes, we do.
That sounds very interesting.
Nice,
if
nice,
only there was to say on such a subject. But I suppose that is interesting, isn't it? Because he says desperately trying to pull it back. Because we think about the actors, don't we? But actually, it is about the sound in the round, isn't it? It's the whole thing that makes it immersive. If it was just actors, that would have basically been an audio book performance. It would be something very different to what you've actually created here, really.
Yeah, it's a whole world. That's
yeah, and we know that you can tell that we're in the audio business because we are wearing headphones. We know that most people that listen, or lots of people that listen, will listen on headphones. So we have the opportunity to make it immersive. We can have sounds bounce from one ear to another. We can make it sound like you are surrounded by these sounds. And the lovely thing about it doesn't cost any more to do that than to make it sound like they're in a park in Guildford or something. It's not like we have to pay expensive CGI. We can make effects that transport you to that place, and then the best CGI generator in the world, which is the human imagination, just kind of kicks in.
Yeah, and that one's free. But you do have to work out how to poke it to get the right results. So like with the right audio prompts and the right line of dialogue in the right place, that whoever's listening is going to picture what they need to picture to put all the pieces together. And I think that has really helped me as a writer, generally speaking, in my novel writing as well, is sort of trusting the reader that you give them enough and they'll do the rest. They will. People fill in the blanks. People are incredibly good at doing that and visualizing exactly what they need to at any given moment. You do not need to be heavy-handed in detail. You really don't. And that's very refreshing and incredibly exciting as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you actually whether the working in this medium had actually affected your writing. You've sort of preempted that, really. So do you think it's improved your craft, basically?
I think it's made me more trusting of the audience. I think it's made me more respectful of the audience as well, because as a writer, you're sort of it's not necessarily respect. It's the idea that they won't be able to picture it without you. You have to hold the hand all the time, whereas actually readers are creative as well, and that's very important to remember. And if the readers are along for the journey, they're in it. And they are bringing it to life. And it's amazing, actually. I mean, at no point, because there's no narrator, a narrator in an audio drama might be able to provide exposition, might be able to describe scenes and wildlife and all of those things, might be able to give those details. When it's just dialogue, I mean, unless you do something like say, oh, look, there is a 5-petaled flower with red thorns. And I think, gosh, I better be careful of that or it might hurt my finger. Unless you do that, which is not something you ever want to do under any circumstances, you can't, people won't get that, but they get enough. And I've had people say, oh, it's such a vivid introduction to your world. And it's like, you've literally never seen it.
Yes.
And my characters do not say anything about the actual appearance of the world, but people just imagine it. They get it in their head. Magic. It's magic.
Yeah. In some ways, I think it's more creative. I think, reading and the audio is more creative than the visual. In some, people prefer, consumer stories in different ways, and that's not to judge one's better than the other. But I do think with visual media, you are just more passive as an audience member, aren't you? Because so much more of that filling in is done for you. And I think that's one of the reasons why the show works so well, and why you're getting that strong fan base is because for audio drama, you just have to invest that bit more as the reader or as the listener to sort of like get the best out of it.
Yeah, it's like the audience is a creator alongside us.
Yeah.
And their vision of what the Dex Legacy is intrinsically theirs, and they're going to carry that with them through the series. And just as much as we carry the voices and the sound and everything, they carry the images in their brains. And it's all collaborative. I know, Chris, you feel pretty strongly about this as well. I don't know if you want to sort of wax lyrical about audience involvement.
Well, I mean, it was a weird thing when season 1 went out and subsequently we knew people were listening, but we weren't really getting the interaction until we announced our Kickstarter for season 2. And then suddenly, I was going to say they came out of the woodwork, but that sounds slightly disparaging, doesn't it? Suddenly these people emerged and wanted to give us money to make our second series, and in some cases, very large and generous sums of money. And we suddenly had this community of super fans or whatever you want to call them that were able to tell us how much they loved the show. And so, Kickstarters, I think, are difficult things to do in many ways, but they have rewards well beyond the actual money that you get to make your thing. And I think that sense of a community and getting to know your audience and your backers is really important, particularly in a world. And I guess it's the same in publishing as well. You know your books go out there, but you don't know who buys it from the Taunton branch of Waterstones or whatever. So connecting with audience, I think for any creator is a really big and cool thing. And I think we loved that, really, didn't we, Emily?
Yeah, definitely. Finding people who really cared about it and have invested in it. And it actually continues to be the case more so. I mean, the more people who listen, the more likely the people are to come out of the woodwork. But I mean, I was on Reddit the other day responding to a completely different post, didn't even mention the Dex Legacy, but somebody came and responded to the post and just said, "Oh my God, just wanted to say, I love your audio drama. It's really, really great. Can't wait to see what happens next with it." And, we've been releasing on YouTube, we've only got 19 followers on YouTube. Okay, so it's a really, really small
not our biggest platform,
channel. No, we've put it there for people who like to read while they're listening. So it's all subtitled. And so I'm just thinking, okay, well, barely anyone's listening to this, is fine. But I stopped uploading the videos and got a message from somebody completely random, I'm really, I've noticed that you haven't uploaded a video. I'm heartbroken. When's the next episode coming out? And I'm like, oh, okay, there's a person here. And it's these touch points that you don't necessarily look for. And, and Kickstarter is just a huge touch point. It's just made for that.
Yeah. It definitely moved you to that next level, didn't you? Like getting into into a studio, recording it,
Yes.
in that sort of, I suppose, more professional setting, and giving you a chance to work on it in a different way, which is great. Season 1 ended on a cliffhanger. I just want to make this point.
Yeah.
I then had to wait for season 2, and when season 2 finished, it ended, I feel, on a bit of a cliffhanger again. So bearing in mind you've got these hundreds of thousands of people downloading your show and wanting to obviously enjoying it, I suppose people would probably like to know what's happening with season 3, and are you going to make one, and is there any other answer than yes?
No. The answer is yes. No, there isn't any other answer than yes. There is
take over, Steve. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready for this.
How many negatives could you have in one sentence there?
Exactly. Okay. So we're definitely making season 3. It's outlined.
Yeah.
I'm going to take another look at the outline. I did the outline, stepped away from it, Chris, I believe you've looked at the outline now. I'm going to go back to it. I'm getting better at writing, basically, episodic writing. You grow as a writer all the time. Yeah. Season 1, we didn't know it would be a season until episode 3, and then it became a season. And the entire thing is kind of structured accordingly. You know, it's not as well structured. Season 2, I think, is better because we knew what we were doing from the outset. Yeah. And from a writing perspective, I had it all written up front, which made a big difference. Season 1, I didn't know how it was going to end. We were releasing episode 4. I hadn't even written episode 6 yet. I was terrified. I was driven by fear for like that whole 3-month release period. I was just in a complete state of fear the whole time.
We're never going to work like that again, are
we? No. Season 3 is like basically, like don't ever do that. Season 3 is going to be better again. I think I'm going to like my writing is stepping up all the time, and the story it's going to go in a direction people don't expect, I think. What happened at the end of season 2
there. I need a sound effect for that particular gesture, don't I, basically?
Thank you for that. I'll use that, Tim. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, between now and season 3, we have a few things that we're working on. I won't give too much away on the Dex Legacy side, but there are some little bonusy things coming on in Dex Legacy. But we're working on a couple of other dramas as well. We've become a sort of co-directing team. Emily's done some writing on another drama with a fantastic writer called Lewis Carter. So we're very excited to let you know more about that one in due course. That's another sci-fi, and we have some folk horror coming up as well. So if you're a fan of spooky places in weird England, then we have some folk horror coming your way too.
Yep.
Well, interesting. So just whizzing back to Dex for a second then, you obviously got into the studio for season 2. What's the plan for how you're actually going to put the show together for season 3? Have you got that far yet with working that out?
Oh, it's got to be studio, and I don't think we'd go back to completely asynchronous again.
No.
We did some asynchronous for the characters that are not the core characters. We call our core cast the Varian, Isra and Ren, Nathaniel Dex, Tristan Crail, Osa, and Devik. So we've got a core cast of 7. And then we have the sort of more side characters, the extended cast, as we call them. And the extended cast is more far-flung. So they tend to be, we've got a few people in America, we've got, somebody in Germany now, and, it's hard to get them into the studio. So we do studio time for the core cast 100%, and then external asynchronous for the others. But I don't think we could record in any other way. I mean, of course, if the next Kickstarter goes well, and there will be another Kickstarter for season 3, if it does incredibly well, we will be flying David Esdeer over to be Idris in studio from Seattle. Yes, we will. It depends how generous fans become.
That's a serious stretch goal for business class or whatever.
It would. It's a long way from Seattle.
Yeah. The basic rate there would be David gets a ferry.
Right.
Yeah. And then there would be a stretch goal for a flight.
I'm thinking Pedalo is an option as well, which people might take.
Pedalo, yes.
Again, I'm from Seattle. That would be awkward. I think you'd have to go across the entire Pacific Ocean from Seattle, come the wrong way around the world. But I'm sure David would be up for that.
Hey, look, it's a basic backer tier, okay? It's like...
I mean, there's a sponsorship opportunity right there, isn't there, really, if you stop and think about it. You don't need to do a Kickstarter. You just need to persuade him to undertake this venture, and, he'll probably survive.
At least even chance of survival, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the modern world we live in. This is what people want to see, and this is, it's the future that Dex Legacy is actually opening up for us, isn't it? So in a way, life is mimicking art.
I think
David, if we're not serious about this, I just want to make that clear.
But I do think a solo multi-month voyage across the Pacific Ocean wouldn't be the worst thing that's happened to his character, actually. So Yeah,
Wow.
Definitely not.
we should do it.
It's just a thought. It's just a thought. I'm not gonna, not gonna tell you what to do. Clearly, but
It's method acting.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll get him to take a microphone with him.
So, okay, assuming your cast all survive then and get to season 3, and we don't kill them,
Sure.
any inadvertent, publicity stunts gone terribly wrong. I think it's worth saying at this point you've actually been nominated for an award, haven't you, for the show? Is it for the whole show for season 2?
Okay, so yeah, it's all of the show. It just says
All
the
of the
Dex
show.
Legacy on it. It's unspecific. So all of the other, it's normal for these things to be for a specific episode of a show.
Yeah.
But we're apparently nominated for all of it, which I will take. It's better to get in and invest, I think.
And this is a big nomination, just to be clear, but we're talking here about the BSFA awards, aren't we? So quite a big,
Yes.
quite a big deal each year in sci-fi industry.
Yeah, the British Science Fiction Association is I think it's the longest running voluntary led science or science fiction organisation in the country. It's definitely in the country, in the world, I think it might be. It's very old, and it's very strong, and it has a history of celebrating very high level sci-fi and supporting the authors, it's a huge thing. It's a big honor to be nominated for that award. It's the Audio Fiction Award, and so yes, it's very exciting to be there. We're alongside some good people, but I'm optimistic. I'm hoping because it would just be huge that if we could do this and get those votes. It is member votes that we need. So if you're a member of the British Science Fiction Association, you can vote. Membership is actually not that much, and you can join all over the world, and the awards are very prestigious. So if you want a say in who gets rewarded for their science fiction work and contributions, wherever you are in the world, you can join the BSFA. You can become a member. It's £30 a year. And for that cost, you get very good publications that will be delivered to you. And, you'll get your copies through the post. And you get those just standard with your membership. And you get to vote in these awards. And I think now, if you join now, you might get it for £18 for the year, because you're joining part way through the year as opposed to a full way through the year. So if you do want to vote and you aren't a member of the BSFA, but you do want to vote for the Dex Legacy, you do still have time to join the BSFA and cast your vote. And you will get a lot of benefits, but you will also get to support us. And I believe voting closes tonight. At midnight.
It's 29th of March, 23:59, Friday the 29th of March.
So that's your cut-off point, isn't it?
Whenever you're, so if you're listening after that, then you can't vote.
Yes, when I say tonight, I mean like when you're listening to it is live, isn't it? When it goes live is Friday?
That's
Friday
right.
the 29th, yes. So if you're listening to this on Friday, then it closes tonight. So get over to the bsfa.co.uk and register, and please vote for us.
Yes, and that is GMT time. So if you're in the States, that is like 10 o'clock, or I don't know, I'm bad with time zones, but it's before midnight. So be sure and vote as soon as you can. Don't waste any time.
Yes, please do. Yes.
That's a key takeaway from that one. So, absolutely. I'll just wish you all the best with it as well. I think it's a fantastic show. I think it's brilliant to be nominated. And I think that in itself is a huge testament to the work you guys obviously put in and the actors put into creating it. But, I think you've got a great shot at actually coming away with this one. So let's find out.
Let's find out. And thank you. And hopefully, that would be amazing for all of us.
It's announced at
show.
Eastercon, isn't it? Which is a British
Yes.
science fiction convention. So you won't have long to wait from this going out to the actual results itself.
To the actual results, no, it's
That's right.
yeah, this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about it. I'm trying very hard not to think about it.
Fine. If I was worse can happen.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be staying cool the whole time.
Yeah. Don't drink too much. Probably. But then there's a time afterwards, and it'd be much more appropriate. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait until after. Yeah. Then.
After you've done your speech, Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crucial.
Oh God, that's another thing. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Don't mention breaking neck with carrots on a stage in front of people.
You could.
Yeah.
You could. I mean, people would remember it, wouldn't they?
They would, for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, you may have some strange looks, but it's okay. They'll be memorable. Yeah.
I get those anyway.
Yeah.
all the best with it, and I really, really hope you have a good night, regardless of the outcome. But I'm quietly confident. We shall see if I'm right or not, won't we? We talked a lot about the show. Actually, how do you actually access the Dex Legacy? So where do you go to actually listen and find out what we've been talking about for the last hour?
Well, you can find us on pretty much all major podcast platforms, and just simply search for the Dex Legacy, DEX, and we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all the usual suspects. You can also find us by going to our website, which is thedexlegacy.com, and then you'll be able to not only get linked through to the episodes, but you'll be able to find out about our cast. You'll be able to see a map of the world where it's set, and there's all sorts of bonus goodies there. So yeah, do give it a listen, and we hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Cool. So that I think kind of covers what I wanted to sort of bring out. I just think it's a tremendously interesting show. I think it's grown from very small beginnings into almost like an unstoppable juggernaut now. And I think that next Kickstarter, when you get to season 3, you're just going to smash that, because your audience base is now established. You've got those committed fans. So I just think this is going to go from strength to strength, for as many seasons as you want to do. So it's if people haven't watched it, listened to it already, go to where Chris was just directed you, have a look, find your platform of choice and give it a listen. And your brain will thank you for the for the experience, and that's a weird way to end a podcast. So I'm going to try and move on from that statement. And I suppose you've edited about a few little projects you've got. Any other projects or things you want to talk about before we wrap up? Or is it
oh yes.
Go on, Emily.
I was just going to mention that, so there is a Dex spin-off coming. We are working on that, which is happening in a completely different location in the world, but directly related to events that transpire in season 1. So it's a completely fresh view on the whole thing, and it's mecha. So people in giant mech suits, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're doing, I think, 3 episodes and an interlude, maybe a couple of interludes for that. For that,
and we'll see what people think of that, and then there might be more of that coming. But you're going to hear you're going to hear things that are familiar to you if you've listened to the rest of the Dex Legacy, but you'll hear a whole new set of characters and a whole new situation. One thing I would say as well, I mean, I've mentioned 2 other dramas that we're working on, but for any writers listening, we're also making a non-fiction podcast called The Writer's Gym, and we just talk about writing, the process of writing. We pick a different topic every week, and we just chat about it. And so, if you're a writer, and the latest episode actually is quite sci-fi, because it's all about world building, of which Emily is an absolute genius. So listen to Emily talking about world building, and yes, The Writer's Gym, and again available in all your podcast apps.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, well, I think that's I've really enjoyed this evening's conversation. It's it's very rare you get the chance to sort of talk to the creators of a show you really enjoy and actually just get that kind of inside information on it. So I found that absolutely fascinating, and the Dex Legacy, check it out, would be my parting shot on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah,
this has been a lot of fun.
It's been awesome. Yeah, it's been excellent. I'll never hear neck breaking the same again after today. So
now, which vegetable would that have been?
That was a carrot for sure.
Redacted.
Yeah.
Redacted.
Thanks again to Emily and Chris. Really, it's been a pleasure, and of course to Tim. And hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. I'll leave all the links down below. Be sure and cast your vote before it is too late. So don't wait. Do it as soon as you can. And we will talk to everyone very soon.